my relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very, I come from a middle class, kind of blue collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just like, he was Clint Eastwood, less is more, simple grunts.
We always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can. Like, this is a horrible thing to say.
Did Blake Lively just cost Ryan Reynolds his most famous role? After Marvel fired him for using Deadpool 3 to mock Justin Baldoni, Ryan Reynolds is allegedly blaming Blake Lively for destroying his career. Is this the end of Ryan's Marvel legacy and his marriage? The tea is piping hot, so let's dive right in. For years, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have carefully cultivated the image of the perfect Hollywood couple. They've mastered the art of playful banter, roasting each other on social media, while publicly gushing about their love in interviews. To the outside world, they appear untouchable, a power couple that has it all: a thriving marriage, successful careers, and a fairy tale family life. But behind the perfectly curated Instagram posts and red carpet smiles, sources suggest that things aren't as perfect as they seem. Insiders claim that Ryan has always been a control freak when it comes to Blake's career. While she's an accomplished actress in her own right, Ryan has allegedly taken it upon himself to micromanage her professional choices, carefully shaping how she is perceived in the industry. He's obsessed with maintaining their public image, ensuring that every project she takes on aligns with the brand they've built together. Some even go as far as to say that he treats Blake more like a business investment than a wife, curating her roles, influencing her public persona, and keeping a close eye on how she's portrayed in the media. And while Blake has long been seen as the charming, effortlessly cool counterpart to Ryan's wisecracking personality, sources suggest she isn't as innocent as she appears. The trouble started when Blake landed a major role in Justin Baldoni's adaptation of It Ends With Us, a highly anticipated project based on Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel. Initially, the production seemed to be moving along smoothly, at least on the surface. But behind the scenes, tensions were brewing. At first, it was subtle. Blake, who has spent years working with A-list directors and high-profile studios, allegedly didn't take Baldoni as seriously as she should have. Whispers from the set suggested that she wasn't entirely sold on his directing style, often questioning his creative choices. While she remained professional in front of the cameras, insiders claim that behind closed doors, she wasn't afraid to mock Baldoni, rolling her eyes at his directing approach and making snide remarks about his vision. Blake, used to working with seasoned directors who had decades of experience helming blockbuster films, allegedly started pushing back against Baldoni's creative decisions. Whether it was the way a scene was shot, a line of dialogue she didn't agree with, or the overall tone of the film, sources say that she didn't hesitate to voice her opinions. While actors giving creative input isn't unusual, the dynamic between her and Baldoni reportedly became strained, especially as Ryan Reynolds inserted himself into the mix. At first, it seemed like Ryan Reynolds was just being a supportive husband, but before long, whispers of his increasing involvement became impossible to ignore. Some say he began meddling in the film's direction, questioning Baldoni's choices, and even making suggestions about how certain scenes should play out. Others claim he was seeking more direct control, perhaps even angling for an unofficial producer credit.
In the retrospect, this is all just so scary. It feels like a form of abuse against Blake. And she's not a victim of any of this. She's totally bratty, and we've gone through her messages as well. But I am just saying that the fact that he doesn't want to be apart from her, and now he's inserted himself into every layer of this movie, something's very wrong here.
Here's where the drama takes a twist. Blake started using Ryan's name to get her way and repeatedly reminded people of who she was married to, subtly suggesting that she had the industry power to influence decisions. When Baldoni refused to budge, Blake didn't just complain, she lawyered up. She filed formal complaints accusing him of inappropriate comments about her postpartum body and unsafe working conditions during intimate scenes. The problem? The evidence was shaky. In fact, Baldoni had text message logs proving he had been nothing but professional, even expressing concern for Blake's comfort on set. Then came the leaks, the messages that changed everything. Screenshots surfaced showing that Blake wasn't just venting to Ryan, she was actively using his influence to pressure studios, media outlets, and even Marvel itself. Some texts suggested that Ryan was aware of Blake's tactics, if not outright involved. That's when Marvel stepped in. Executives panicked. If Ryan had been using his Marvel connections to tilt Hollywood in Blake's favor, that was a major liability. Marvel launched an internal review and, within weeks, made the shocking decision Ryan Reynolds was fired. For Ryan Reynolds, it was a career-shattering blow, one he never saw coming. After years of tirelessly building Deadpool into one of Marvel's most successful franchises, after fighting tooth and nail to get the first movie made, and after personally shaping the character into a billion-dollar box office juggernaut, it was all taken away from him in an instant. The decision came swiftly and without mercy. No public statements, no grand announcements, just a quiet but decisive move to distance the studio from him once and for all. And the worst part? Ryan Reynolds blamed his wife, Blake Lively, for it. Here's where things get messier. Marvel told Ryan in no uncertain terms that brand integrity comes first, and his ties to Blake's alleged manipulations, her behind-the-scenes tension with Justin Baldoni, the power plays, the industry-wide whispers about their toxic dynamic had left them no choice. The studio wasn't willing to risk the fallout. They had already dealt with enough scandals, struggling to maintain their once dominant grip on the superhero genre. Letting this situation spiral any further was simply not an option. What happened next was a full-blown marriage meltdown. According to sources close to the couple, when the news broke, Ryan and Blake had a heated argument that quickly spiraled into one of the worst fights of their marriage. He accused her of ruining his career, all over a personal grudge against Baldoni. He allegedly told her she was reckless, selfish, and completely oblivious to the consequences of her actions. How could she let her own ego and professional frustrations destroy everything they had built? How could she be so careless? But Blake wasn't about to back down. She fired back, telling Ryan that he was gaslighting her, twisting the situation to make it seem like everything was her fault, when in reality, he had been pulling the strings the entire time. She reminded him that he was the one who took things too far, the one who made Nice Pool a reality, the one who got involved in a project that wasn't even his. If he had just stayed out of it, none of this would have happened.
I guess you've already met Mary Poppins, aka Dogpool. Careful where you put your hand. She's 90% and she'll let you know it. You let this little flirt out of your sight for 1 second and she starts shopping for a new papa. If you can't be a responsible pet owner, then maybe you don't deserve this little unicorn. Guilty on all charges, you are.
And that's the thing, this wasn't just about Deadpool. For years, people in Hollywood had quietly speculated about the real dynamic between Ryan and Blake. To the public, they were the perfect power couple. Funny, charming, effortlessly in sync. But to those who had worked closely with them, the truth was more complicated. Ryan had always had a tight grip on Blake's career, shaping it behind the scenes in ways that the public never saw. He had a reputation for meddling in her projects, giving feedback on her scripts, suggesting changes to her roles, even pushing back on certain career moves that didn't align with the brand they had built together. Some industry insiders had even claimed that Ryan had blocked Blake from taking on certain films, steering her away from projects that he felt didn't fit their carefully crafted Hollywood image. And Blake, for the most part, had gone along with it. But now, for the first time, the cracks in their relationship were showing. And they weren't just cracks anymore, they were full-blown fractures. People close to the couple say that Blake was done being controlled. She was tired of Ryan always positioning himself as the mastermind, the one pulling the strings, the one dictating the rules of their public and professional lives. She had spent years being the perfect Hollywood wife, smiling at the right moments, keeping their brand intact, playing along with the jokes. But now, she had her own career to think about, her own reputation to protect. And if Ryan wasn't willing to acknowledge the ways he had contributed to this disaster, then maybe it was time for a serious wake-up call. Meanwhile, Hollywood is picking sides. Justin Baldoni, the man at the center of the original controversy, has kept a deliberate silence. He has refused to publicly comment on the drama, neither confirming nor denying the swirling allegations about Ryan Reynolds' behind-the-scenes interference or Blake Lively's alleged behavior on set. But according to industry insiders, Baldoni is feeling vindicated. For months, he was reportedly frustrated by the power struggle behind It Ends With Us, the tension with Blake, and the alleged pressure from Ryan. And now, he doesn't have to say a word. Hollywood is doing the talking for him. The backlash against Ryan and Blake has shifted the industry narrative, positioning Baldoni as the wronged party, someone who simply wanted to make his film without interference. And then there's Blake's legal team. In a shocking turn of events, her legal representatives, who had been handling the ongoing fallout, resigned. While no official reason was given, insiders claim they no longer wanted to be associated with the case. Some believe they saw the writing on the wall, that defending Blake would be an uphill battle, especially with more Hollywood executives reportedly coming forward with their own grievances about her and Ryan's behind-the-scenes behavior. Others speculate that the team's departure suggests new, damaging information is about to come to light, something even her own lawyers didn't want to be involved in. For years, Ryan was Deadpool. He shaped the character, brought him to life, and turned the franchise into an R-rated powerhouse that defied box office expectations. And now, with his abrupt departure, fans are accusing Marvel of overreacting. Some believe the studio made a hasty decision based on unconfirmed industry rumors, while others argue that Marvel is being hypocritical, turning on Ryan over this controversy while keeping other stars with far worse allegations attached to their name. The backlash is growing, and Marvel is feeling the heat. Studio executives are reportedly scrambling to control the damage, trying to reassure fans that the franchise will continue without Reynolds. But the reality is, replacing him will be next to impossible. Even insiders within Marvel are questioning whether this was the right move, wondering if they acted too quickly in cutting ties with one of their biggest stars.
My relationship with my father, which was very complicated and difficult. My dad was a very I come from a middle class, kind of blue collar home, and my dad was just of that generation where it's just like, he was Clint Eastwood, less is more. Simple grunts is how he communicated.
Okay, gotcha.
I think people tell themselves stories, and this sort of comes back to your worldview that you just mentioned about.
But while Marvel deals with its own crisis, Blake Lively is facing an even bigger one. For years, she was seen as Hollywood's golden girl, a talented actress, a fashion icon, a beloved celebrity whose reputation was practically spotless. But this scandal has changed everything. Studios are now hesitant to work with her. Her behind-the-scenes reputation is becoming a major concern, with executives questioning whether she's worth the trouble. Reports of her alleged behavior on It Ends With Us, mocking Baldoni, pushing back against his creative choices, making dismissive remarks about his directing style, are now circulating more widely, and the industry is taking notice. Hollywood is notorious for protecting its A-list stars, but when the tide turns against someone, it turns fast. Sources say that Blake is feeling the pressure. She has gone completely silent. No public statements, no interviews, no attempts to defend herself. Whether this is a calculated move by her PR team or a sign that she's struggling to find a way out remains to be seen. Some believe she's simply waiting for the scandal to blow over, hoping that Hollywood's short memory will work in her favor. But others think this is just the beginning of a major downfall, one that she may not be able to recover from.
If your wife is sexually harassed, you don't make fun of Justin Baldoni. You don't make fun of the situation. You take it very seriously. You file HR complaints. You raise the issue, and you follow a legal process. What you don't do is mock the person and turn it into a joke.
As for Ryan Reynolds, his future in Hollywood is in serious jeopardy. Since his firing from Marvel, he has gone radio silent. No jokes, no witty social media comebacks, no attempts to spin the situation in his favor. For a man known for turning everything into a punchline, this silence speaks volumes. But behind the scenes, sources say he's furious.
Brian Friedman says, due to public interest in this case, we have now stumbled upon this, and we're therefore amending this because we think that it shows Blake is trying to gag them. I don't think that's going to go through. How can you try to say you're playing this in the press when the entire reason we got here was because you tried to play this in the press? Like, you went to the New York Times to try to take him down.
He feels betrayed by Marvel, by the industry, and most of all, by Blake. Insiders claim that Ryan is blaming her for everything, convinced that her personal feud with Baldoni is what ultimately cost him Deadpool and his standing in Hollywood. He's reportedly seething, telling close friends that he never expected her to be the reason his career would take such a devastating hit.
Who owns the next movie script? I am going to invest myself everywhere. I'm going to be doing your movie premiere. I'm going to be doing promos and making fun of you. Right? I'm going to put myself in the end credits. Like, this is like psychotic behavior, okay? As long as Ryan's a lot smarter than her, and she therefore allows him to manipulate and control every layer of his life, so long as she can just, be the princess, essentially.
And that leads to the biggest question of all. What does this mean for their marriage? Sources say that divorce is now a very real possibility. Their once flawless public image has taken too many hits. Their relationship, once the envy of Hollywood, is now under an intense microscope. Insiders claim they've been having explosive arguments behind the scenes, with Ryan still blaming Blake for the fallout, and Blake accusing Ryan of manipulating the situation. For a long time, their marriage was built on the illusion of perfection. But now, that illusion is shattered.
If you even aspire to be like a Hollywood actor and actress, in most circumstances, you're dealing with someone who probably has some narcissistic tendencies.
So do you think that Ryan Reynolds will divorce Blake Lively once everything is over? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.